Something magical happened the other day. I was playing Animal Crossing New Leaf, and I was walking around my town looking at all my villagers, and I saw this horrible, disgusting piece of trash walking around my beautiful town. It was Astrid, the kangaroo. Usually I just ignore her and refuse to talk to her, but today she had one of those bing things above her head, so I decided maybe she'll request a new town works project. In this, she mentioned to me that she was planning to move, how she didn't really jive with the town. And I was all like, finally! I'd been playing the game for 1.5 years at this point, and I was just so sick of that awful waste of trash. For those of you that don't know, Astrid is a kangaroo that has a shirt that matches her skin. It's disgusting. I can't stand it. And yes, she did change her clothes eventually, but it didn't take away from that scarred image I had in my head, nor did it take away from her awful personality. The option came up for me to ask her to move away, and I debated letting her stay. That hatred had grounded me into the game for so many months, and now she was about to leave, closing a chapter on my New Leaf life. Of course, when I really thought about it, I couldn't say no. She had to leave, and so I accepted her resignation from my town. A few days later, she was gone, and I was free. I still remember the first time I played Animal Crossing for the GameCube. There was supposed to be a school skiing trip that morning, but it was cancelled, and so my parents let me and my sister skip school. We ended up spending the whole day playing Animal Crossing, thinking it was some kind of Harvest Moon game. Unfortunately for me, my older sister got to start the game first, and she took the house with the blue roof, which is the one I wanted, because blue is the best color. But seeing as that was gone, I took the house with the red roof, because it was in the top left, meaning I was number 1. I still recall the first time I met Tom Nook. It was so cool to see this little raccoon in an apron walking around and just letting me live in a place. In real life, if somebody did that, they'd be called crazy, because I didn't sign any rental agreement, so, our contract was non-binding. I could have kept that house and never paid him back, and in fact, I didn't for a long time. I did, however, start working for him right away, and I loved working for him. I got to meet all these great animals, I got a map, I got to explore my town and get great items. Unfortunately, that part-time work ended after a short time, and there was nothing more for me to do. When I bought my first shovel, I ran around the town wondering what exactly to do with it. I had heard somewhere that if you planted fruit where a previous tree had grown, it was guaranteed to grow. And so I thought the little cracks in the ground were tree roots, or a place where a tree had been. So I dug one up, and that's when I discovered a fossil. I had no idea that you could dig up fossils in this game, and I was blown away. I wondered what else was laying in wait in the game for me to find. This led to what I call the rumor stage of my life. These rumors ranged from completely true to completely false. On the true end of the scale, we have going into the lighthouse to take care of it. In the middle, we have that you could enter Tom Nook's shack after hours. It turns out this was a Japanese-only edition, but that didn't stop me from trying the heck out of hitting it with a shovel. And for false rumors, there were things like the glitch fish, which was apparently this fish that you could only catch in rivers. People highly debated whether it was real or not. I don't think it's real, but who knows. Eventually, I moved on from the GameCube Classic to the DS version. I loved this version. It felt like a natural extension of the previous one. I could finally have a sweet hairdo. Blue spikes, obviously, with an orange jumpsuit with some sporty shades so I look like a snowboarder. It was there that my friends also got into Animal Crossing. We visited each other's towns, we had a great time, and in my friend's town I met the most wonderful person ever. Peanut. Peanut was this pink squirrel with the most perfect personality you'd ever seen. Her smile melted my heart, and I wanted her. Eventually, she moved to my town, and I got to spend years with her. We wrote letters to each other, we exchanged gifts, and eventually I asked for her hand in marriage. I set up a whole location in town surrounded by flowers where we were to get married. I even invited some friends over for the wedding, but unfortunately, the friend who I had stolen Peanut from was getting her hair done in the game at the time, so she missed the ceremony. It didn't matter though, because Peanut ultimately didn't show up. When I went to her house to investigate, she didn't even acknowledge that we were to be married. This led to my heartbreak. I cared about Peanut. I still care about Peanut. She still lives in that town. And it's really hard for me to acknowledge that I was just rejected like that. And I'm also very ashamed of some of my behavior afterward. I sent horrible, horrible letters to everyone in my town, saying things like Peanut was a horrible squirrel. Things like she just toyed around with people's emotions. I don't know what she was thinking, but moving on from that. Eventually, that town got old, over 10 years old, and so I had to move into a new town. The town of New Leaf, or Decim as I named it on there. I'm still spending so much time in that game, making shirts, laying down roads in my town, building coffee shops and fountains and setting up flowers and hedges, and meeting awful people like Astrid who finally moved out. And that's really the point here. Astrid's gone. And I'm free.